things that we see, that so many people believe that so many others are undesirable, and so many should not live to the same standard that others live, and we categorize people and put them in different categories and different territories, different townships and different little villages and little places, and then we categorize by saying some are third world, some are first world, and some deserve to be honored and some deserve to have a lovely life. And so many people here in the United States, even on this Thanksgiving Day, don't even have a decent place to lay their head, don't have a meal to eat. So many living in destitute situation, but yet still we see that we don't have enough money to provide health care and education, but we have enough money to provide guns and bombs. And so many of our leaders, black leaders across the globe, align themselves with those of the oppressive regimes and those that would seek to do damage to mankind. No one now seems to advocate for righteousness. No one now seems to speak on the behalf of those that some would call the less desirable. But I don't think, in my estimation, that there's any undesirable people. I believe that we all deserve to live in a prosperous, healthy economy, community, home. But also, some of us need to take responsibilities for the things that we get involved with and the things that we do. We got to realize that it is time to live a life to see the betterment of mankind. We want to see the betterment of mankind. It said, Dennis Bonavasang said, every man has an equal right to live and to be free. Don't matter what the color or the class you may put yourself in. Every human being has an equal right to live on this earth. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, and we all have an opportunity to live on the earth. We only know one earth, but yet men want to categorize people and put them into third world and first world and whatever world you want to categorize and put people in, which is the most racist, derogatory terms to call a person from the third world. It is a derogatory terms. It is a racist terms. It is the terms that we need to stop use to categorize people, putting them in the category of third world and first world, because it is not right. There's no first world person, there's no third world person. We all are the human race. We all are one. But we see so many of our black leaders that will align themselves with those who have no concern about human dignity. And we only believe that we are living at a time where we just said, oh, let's go to church or to go to mass and just pray to God and everything else will fall in place. But I know that there was many prayers made over slavery. But slavery did not end until people decided that it is time now for slavery to end, and then slavery ended. And if everyone was timid and scared to talk and don't have an opinion, we would be still in shackles and chains today. But because we all have the right to speak, we all have the right to talk, we all have the right to live here on earth. It is a God-given right for each and every man to live here on the earth. Now the earth is the Lord, the fullness thereof, they that dwell therein. If people like Malcolm X did not raise up to speak truth to power, we would have a different world. If a man like Marcus Garvey did not raise up to speak truth to power, there would be a different world. If a person like Nelson Mandela did not raise up to speak truth to power, there would be a different world. If a person like Mahatma Gandhi did not rise up to speak truth to power, there would be a different world. If Rosa Parks, if she did not decide that in her mind that I'm not going to get up and give this white woman my seat, we would have a different world. You see, too many people today afraid to speak for justice and righteousness. So many people believe that the narrative that was given is the only narrative that we need to speak. But I believe that if you are a person that have godliness in you and God dwelleth in you and God speaking through you, you will not ever be afraid to speak the truth to power. So many places in the United States, a lack of proper drinking water, so many schools that need repairs, so many bridges that need repairs, so many people that live in right here in the United States in poverty and degradation and living in the worst condition that human can live in. But yet still, there's trillions of dollars spent to fight wars, trillions, not billions anymore, because they used to spend millions in war. Then they moved from millions to billions. Then they spent in trillions, and the trillions that has been spent, what is the improvement after spending trillions of dollars in Afghanistan, fighting a war? Then you turn over the country to the same people that you were fighting after wasting trillions of dollars, taking countless lives. And then we see these things. It is time for us as a people to recognize that we need better for the betterment of mankind, universal. When you look at the condition, the poverty in Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, when you look at the poverty even here in the United States of America, and everybody is acting as if everything is all right. It is time for us to create and cultivate a world for the betterment of mankind. It is time for people to demand of politicians, what is your plan for the betterment of mankind? And the Caribbean leaders and African leaders who will sign on to treaties and laws that will come against their people. When the master asks you to sign on to any bill, find out what this bill that I'm signing on to, how would it be for the betterment of mankind? How would it improve the citizen of my country? And if I'm going to take an embargo against another country, how will the children of that country survive? Who's going to die? Who's going to suffer hunger? Who is going to go homeless? These are the things that you need to ask before you jump on, because the master gives you a command. It is time for the black leaders all over the globe to come together to speak up for the betterment of humanity. And the church is no better, because the church lost their way of speaking about righteousness. We don't even care about people living. Only thing we care about people dying. Telling people that it don't matter how you live here on earth, once your soul is all right. And that's nonsense. That's not godliness. It is not biblical. It is not right. God cares about the overall being of a human being. How you live, how you die. He don't care about only when you die. Because if God was looking for people to come to heaven, the moment you believe in him, he would just kill you and take you to heaven. Because he's looking for people to come to heaven. But he let you stay on earth so that you become the salt of the earth. You change the world. From your life, what is it that you put out that others can be benefited from? You see, we are living in a time when people become selfish and arrogant and don't even care about others. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I supposed to be a loving, caring, understanding person? Yes, I am my brother's keeper. We are living in a time when people don't really want to speak what is right because they're afraid somebody muzzle their mouth or somebody tell them what they say. But I'm proud to say I am not in line with any political party nowhere in the world. No political party nowhere in the world I am aligned with. No religious organization nowhere in the world. No terror organization nowhere in the world have I aligned with. I am not for the white man, I'm not for the black man, I'm not for the China man, I'm not for the Indian man, or whatever ethnicity you might classify yourself as. I'm not on your side. I'm on God's side. I'm on the righteous side. I'm on the truth. I speak truth to power. I don't align myself. I hear people even go as far as said political party is God party. It's nonsense. There's no political party on this earth that I ever seen who represent God. Because to represent God, you got to represent people. And I don't see no political party that represent people, that care for people. I see people who have an ego trip, who want to get rich, and that's it. The injustice that is going on on this Thanksgiving Day, so many black have been locked up in prison for minor crimes that when when the counterpart, a white person, do the same thing, you get a slap on the wrist. You see, we have to get back to where men and women of dignity can speak truth to power. We need good leaders who understand and don't muzzle their mouth or be afraid. If I live in a world that I'm afraid to speak truth, what's the sense? What's the sense? You see, I was born in a time when the apartheid system was up and running. And I've seen many injustices, and I've seen so many so-called leaders, and I've seen how the world has been transformed, and I've seen how evil penetrate in the world, and men look as if nobody should have a say to speak truth. But I can't be muzzled. I cannot be. Bob Marley have a line, he said, I neither can be bought nor be sold. When you recognize that you neither can be bought nor sold, then you know that you can speak truth to power. You're not afraid. If Martin Luther King was afraid of his life, what the world would be today. If Malcolm X was afraid to speak, what the world would be today. You see, we are living in a time when people are so afraid to speak the truth. And because we are afraid to speak the truth, we are living in a world where people have to walk and at a thin line. But I'm glad that I grew up with a grandmother and a mother and a stepfather, but mostly my grandmother. I think is a person that shaped my belief. My grandmother is a person that really give me this boldness and assurance that I'm not afraid to take on any task, because I grew up with a strong, very strong, courageous black woman who was not really well educated, but very smart, grounded in wisdom, grounded in her God, grounded in a love for people. And let me give a quick example of what I'm speaking about. I remember one time somebody owed my grandmother 6 months rent. And I was a young boy. And I overheard the person asking my grandmother for money to borrow on top of the money that she owes for rent. This is a woman with children. And when I heard the conversation, I was so wrath that she wanted money to borrow. And I went to my grandmother brother, which is my grand uncle, and I said, I don't know what I'm to granny because she's giving away money and blah, blah, blah. And I was so upset that my grandmother, see how upset I was. And then she come back later on to me, I think probably about an hour, not shortly after. And she said to me, my picnic, this is the word she used, my picnic. People are more important than money. If me run her out, we shall carry our children. How they gonna survive? Don't forget, my picnic, people are more important than money. So my grandmother, even though this woman who owes rent, 6 months rent, could turn around and give her money that she could feed her children. So that's how I was brought up. And because of those principles that I was brought up with, I can speak the way that I speak and never be afraid to speak. And I have many more examples, but I just want to show you the type of upbringing that I have that led me to the type of person that I am, who will never be afraid to speak the truth. So when you understand that you have the power within you to speak truth to power, you will always speak truth to power. And this Thanksgiving Day that we celebrate here in America, when so much food is going to waste, you're going to see waste rates beyond waste rates. So many people are going to have so much food, and tomorrow they're going to throw it away. And when same place in the United States, so many people here is hungry. It's going to go, there are people that are going to go to bed tonight without food. And all over the world, when you travel the globe and you see the injustice that the world dealt out, and people believe that this is my lot in life because that's the way God wanted. It's nonsense. God says, not my wish that any should perish. So if you are perishing, it's not God's wish. You see, people put things in people's mind to warp their mind so that they don't think consciously for themselves. But when you have a mind to think, use your mind and think. It is time now to have courageous men and women, you know what I mean, who speak truth to power. I just can call 2 musicians from Jamaica that speak truth to power in their song, in their talking. When you think of a man like Bob Marley and Peter Tosh, when you think of the brutalization that Peter Tosh went through just because he would speak the truth, how evil the Jamaican police and the Jamaican government was to Peter Tosh, how many times they beat him, brutalized him, put him in jail for simple things, you know, maybe sometimes for the smoking a spliff. Now that they're killing, that they legalize it, and so many people all over the world is making billions of dollars off of the thing, that so many black people end up in prison. Even right now today, serving sentence for weed in America, when they claim now that they legalize it, and so many people making millions and billions of dollars off it, and nobody to speak for injustice, and nobody to understand that when you see hypocrisies, it's time to speak about hypocrisies. And what we call righteousness is to speak and to fast in other people's business, but we cannot speak the truth to power. People all over the globe, it is time to demand of politicians. Africans, demand of your politicians what they're going to do for the betterment of our people. Latin America, demand of politicians what you're going to do for the betterment of our people. People of the Caribbean, demand from the government what is it you're going to do for the people, for the betterment of mankind. People of America, England, Australia, you name it. Look at what's going on in Australia. The blatant racism and the apartheid system in Australia. Look at what's going on down there in Palestine. Nobody is to speak truth to power. It is time for us to stand up and speak the things that is right, so that we create a better world for the children that is coming up. So many people have to run away from their country to go to other countries to seek refuge. It is time for us to create a safe space within our countries, within our borders, so the youngsters of our time can be educated and can be elevated, and to promote and to go to the places from their country and return freely, but not to run away. Look what's going on right now in Haiti. Haiti become a failed state. Haiti is no more not a country anymore. Caribbean leaders, African leaders, it is time to step up to the plate and to save Haiti from what Haiti is going through at this moment. It is time. It is high time. It is the right time. We want to see the elevation of our people. Too long we have been shackles in chains. Remove the chains from your brains. Take away the chains from your brains. Until the chains removed from your brains, the freedom of the heart, the freedom of the man will not appear. We need to remove the chains that shackle our brains so that we can be free, so that we can educate, elevate, and promote the things that is right. Stop aligning yourself with politicians who don't care for you. They on an ego trip. They on an ego trip. I remember Bill Clinton went to the Arsenal show and blew his saxophone. He went on Arsenal show, blow his saxophone, and the next day they labeled him as a black president. They labeled Bill Clinton as a black president because he went on a black entertainment show and blew a saxophone. But Bill Clinton is the one that put the most black men in prison. How could he be a black president when he responsible to put so many black men in prison? You see, our mind is warped because we see somebody might do something, we don't check their account, check what they leave behind, check their legacy. Check their legacy. Understand. When you hear a politician speak, try to rivet what they said in your brains so that you go back and fact check to see if what they said is true. And then you look at what they do while they are in power to see if it's aligned with the things that they said. If it's aligned with the things that they said, then you know. But whatever they said, it must be aligned with what they does. So you got to fact check that. We are living in a world that is so much injustice, and it is time to change. Going into 2024, Africans, Caribbean, Latin Americans, Black Americans, all over the globe, demand of politicians a better way, provide laws that will be justified laws for every person across the globe. Caribbean leaders, one more time, do something to help out Haiti, because they have Haiti as the #1 poorest country in the Caribbean. They have Jamaica as the #2 poorest country in the Caribbean, and Cuba as the #3 poorest country in the Caribbean. So if Haiti can become a failed state, Jamaica can become a failed state. So be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Because you're right under the nose. The ranking system that rank countries, they claim that Jamaica is #2 poorest country in the world. In the Caribbean, not in the world, in the Caribbean. Because you have poor countries, they categorize it, Latin America, Asia, wherever in Africa, which country is the poorest country in Africa, which is the poorest country in Latin America, which is the poorest country in the Caribbean, and Jamaica is #2. Let us demand of our politicians better way of life. And you church people who align yourself with hypocrisies, it is time to stop it. It is time to stop it. As I said, be so. There's not a political party, let me say this, there's not a political party in the world that I align myself with. There is not a group or organization in the world that I align myself with. I align myself with God. I am on God's side. I am for righteousness. Peace out. If you have never subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the KOJ channel. Share the content, like the content, because I speak truth to power. Without fear, without trembling. I don't have no master here on earth. I don't have no master here. I don't call no man my master. I don't have no boss. I don't have no master here on earth. I speak truth to power. Not afraid. Not afraid. My grandmother teach me, said, "My picnic, people worth more than money."